this. Like, how is a guy supposed to tackle an offensive guy from behind now?
Don't let the league go soft on you. That's what it's trying to do.
You will see a ton of fines. You'll get a flood of like 15 guys got fined for hip drop tackles.
Wow. They actually did it. The NFL has passed a new rule that might actually destroy football for good. This has sparked a massive debate between advocates and opponents of the rule. And the big question is whether this will be yet another rule selectively called by refs that could sway game outcomes and cause suspicion among sports bettors. We're gonna break this down. Like and subscribe for more content from me, Wi-Fi Willie. Every NFL owner met up at the annual league owners meeting and banned the hip drop tackle. This went viral all over the internet. You can see a collection of the tackle from the competition committee. They put this together and said that this type of tackle will be banned. It will not only be banned by the NFL, but could lead to fines and could change the outcome of several games. Most defensive players said that this is the dumbest thing of all time. The NFLPA was opposed to the competition committee creating this new ban. They said the players oppose any attempt by the NFL to implement a rule prohibiting a swivel hip drop tackle. And they say that they want to commit to keeping safety in mind, but they cannot support a rule change that causes confusion for the players, coaches, and the officials. If you're watching these clips, it's kind of hard to decipher exactly what the rule is. What are they trying to ban? The competition committee is saying that they're not banning every hip drop tackle, but specifically a swivel hip drop tackle. And they wrote it out like this, saying that it is a foul if a player uses the following technique to bring a runner to the ground. They have to A, grab the runner with both hands or wrap the runner with both arms, and then at the same time also unweigh themselves by swiveling and dropping their hips or their lower body, landing on the runner's legs at or below the knee. This is something that we see happen a lot, and this happened to Tyreek Hill just last year. You can see a Titans player unweighing themselves and dropping on Tyreek Hill's legs and knees right here, and this caused a big time injury for Tyreek Hill, made him less productive over the next few games, and made him miss one entire game last year. I believe losing big time fantasy football players like this is a big reason why this new rule is happening. We're gonna get into that in a bit, but you had former players criticizing the rule itself just from a defensive player's perspective.
There's no such thing as a hip drop tackle, only a tackle. Imagine trying to tackle Rob Gronkowski. How you gonna do it? Unless you are directly in front of him and he's in front of you, you gotta find a way to bring him down. We created this name hip drop tackle to try to vilify something that's just a tackle. There's no such thing. It's literally just a tackle. Don't let the league go soft on you. That's what it's trying to do.
You also had a former quarterback and now commentator, Robert Griffin III, an offensive player, critical of the new rule change, saying with the hip drop tackle banned now in the NFL, how is Logan Wilson, the linebacker, supposed to make this tackle correctly on the Ravens tight end Mark Andrews? And you can see it right here. Logan Wilson, a much smaller guy than Mark Andrews. He's got to bring this guy down to avoid a touchdown here. And what he has to do is put his weight on Mark Andrews' legs, causing his legs to bend in this way. And yes, that is nasty. That could lead to tons of injuries, but Logan Wilson ultimately has to bring this guy down, and he does. And a lot of people think if he didn't do the hip drop tackle, as what Robert Griffin's trying to argue here, he would not be able to bring down somebody like Mark Andrews. And you have Richard Sherman probably being the most critical of this other than the NFLPA, responding to this question, how is Logan Wilson supposed to make this tackle correctly? And Sherman says he's not. He's just supposed to let them score and cost his team. They are taking defensive players' money. All these fines for defensive players doing their job, they could not coach him on how to get a 270-pound tight end down while running, shaking my head. So he's also criticizing some of the helmet-to-helmet penalties and some of the unnecessary roughness penalties that tend to get called on defensive players and lead to fines. Bobby Wagner, former Seahawks linebacker, also criticizing the rule, but just hoping there's no fines. If you're going to change the rules, that's cool, but don't fine players as they adjust. I don't know how he or anyone could have tackled him any other way. We do know the rule. We do know it's an automatic first down and 15 yards, but we do not know yet if they're going to issue fines. NFL insider Tom Pelissero definitely thinks it's going to happen, and it might get real ugly based on what he's saying.
Nobody's hip drop tackling their teammate. There's basically no tackling in training camp. So the first time you're going to be seeing this is in the games. So what I would predict is going to happen is you will see some flags in the preseason. You will see a ton of fines. You'll get a flood of like 15 guys got fined for hip drop tackles. And what they'll hope is that sends the message, scares everybody.
This could get real ugly because you're going to have a lot of people fined early in the season. And there are a lot of people in the NFL who are undrafted rookies just on a one-year contract. There are a lot of vets, especially ones playing in the preseason trying to prove themselves, who are going to end up getting fined maybe $15,000, $20,000. And that adds up, especially if you're on a one-year veteran minimum contract for about $800,000. Saints defensive end Cam Jordan criticizing the new rule change with a throw-up emoji when he found out that the hip drop tackle was banned. You have former Bears offensive guard Kyle Long supporting the new rule ban, saying that he likes the fact that it minimizes injury, and he does say that the type of injury the hip drop tackle causes are the types of injuries that are harder to come back from. Former Raiders running back Kenyan Drake was very vocal about being supportive of the new ban, saying that it's been detrimental to the health of runners like himself, and he even showed a play of the hip drop tackle that happened to him against the Commanders while he was on the Raiders, and you could see it right here, the defender putting their weight on his leg in order to bring him down, tackling him from the side in that way, and that led to a nasty leg injury that ended his 2021 season, and he had to bounce back from that. So people like Kenyan Drake support the rule change, but then you got defensive players like JJ Watt saying that they should just fast forward to belts with flags on them, saying that the league should basically be flag football now. But the big concern, whether you support this, whether you're against this, is how will the officiating affect the game? And does this have to do with something other than health and safety?
This is going to call for so many questions. There's going to be so many, oh, he can't tackle anybody. That is going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every single big game.
That's what's crazy. It's a new penalty. It's a new way to get 15 yards and an automatic first down. You had this funny joke here saying that they hate the new hip drop tackle ban, but they're also super looking forward to a Chiefs fourth quarter playoff drive getting extended because of it. And that is what people are concerned about. Like roughing the passer, like holding, like pass interference. This is now going to be another penalty that's subjective, that is up to the referee's judgment to determine whether or not a team gets an automatic first down and 15 yards, an easy way to get a game-winning field goal at the very end of the fourth quarter. You had this funny meme, Derk Henry, now that defenders can't hip drop tackle him. And that is what I think this is ultimately about. It's about making offensive players more productive. The NFL wants more fantasy football points. They want more points and more excitement all together. And you had this report by the competition committee, the same committee that now banned the hip drop tackle. And the NFL is concerned, according to this report, about the drop in scoring over the past few seasons. In 2020, both teams in most games averaged 49 points, and this past year it was all the way down to 43.5 points. That is a whopping 5.5 point difference, and the NFL wants to make it a little easier for ball carriers to get in and score, rack up fantasy football points, which is what most people bet on anyways. And you have had a lot of offensive players get injured, get their season ended early, and it seems like the NFL does not want these high-priced individuals out of the game. Even if you're like Kenyan Drake and you support the new rule change, there is no denying that this makes the job of a defensive player much more difficult. And it would be naive to think that the NFL owners just really want to look out for the players and their safety. If they actually wanted to do that, they could support having natural grass instead of turf on all NFL stadiums, and this is something that the NFLPA actually supports, and this is something that can help players get injured less. So I don't buy the argument that the NFL is doing this for no other reason than player safety. And 7 years ago, you had the safety of the Steelers, Mike Mitchell, doing a rant about how the NFL is making it tough for defensive players.
I feel like I gotta ask a guy, hey, are you ready for me to hit you right now before I hit you? And that's crazy. Your quarterback shouldn't have threw that ball messed up. That happened 2 years ago. I'm not joking at all. Andy Dalton threw a ball to Tyler Eifert 2 years ago. That's 50 grand out of my pocket though, because Andy throws a bad ball. Make that make sense.
Not only is he criticizing how the NFL treats defensive players, but Andy Dalton also catches a stray. Whether you support it or not, I still think this new rule change is going to dramatically change how games are played in the NFL. And I think we're going to have a lot of close games decided by a flag yet again. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video if you have not yet, and subscribe to Wi-Fi Willie for more content from me. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.